Imagine being marooned on a desolate, uninhabited island, with nothing but your wits to keep you alive. This isn't a fictional tale, but the true, harrowing story of a Scottish sailor named Alexander Selkirk, whose 4 years of solitude would inspire one of the greatest adventure novels ever written. His incredible journey of survival begins not with a shipwreck, but with a heated argument. In the year 1704, Selkirk was the sailing master aboard the Cinque Ports, a privateering vessel sailing off the coast of South America. The ship was in a dreadful state, its wooden hull riddled with worm damage and prone to leaks. Selkirk, a hot-tempered but experienced mariner, believed the ship was no longer seaworthy. He tried to convince his crewmates to desert with him and await another vessel, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. His captain, Thomas Stradling, was infuriated by Selkirk's insubordination. Their bitter feud came to a head when the Cinque Ports anchored at the uninhabited Juan Fernandez archipelago, about 400 miles off the coast of Chile, to restock with fresh water and supplies. Selkirk declared he would rather stay on the island than risk his life on the leaky ship. To his shock, Captain Stradling took him at his word. He ordered Selkirk to be put ashore on what is now known as Robinson Crusoe Island. Selkirk was given a musket, a small amount of gunpowder, a hatchet, a knife, a kettle, some bedding, a Bible, and a few navigational instruments. As he watched the Cinque Ports sail away, a wave of terror and regret washed over him. He ran along the shore, desperately calling for the ship to return, but it was too late. The vessel vanished over the horizon, leaving him utterly alone in the vast emptiness of the Pacific Ocean. The first few months were a living nightmare. Selkirk was overwhelmed by loneliness and despair. He spent his days scanning the horizon for a sail, clinging to the hope of a quick rescue. He survived on a meager diet of shellfish, turtles, and whatever he could easily catch along the coastline. At night, the sounds of the island were terrifying. The strange calls of unseen creatures and the loud barking of massive sea lions that crowded the beaches kept him in a state of constant fear. He rarely strayed from the shore, his world confined to a small stretch of beach where he could keep an eye on the sea. His mental state deteriorated rapidly. Plagued by melancholy, he would often sit for hours, staring blankly at the ocean, contemplating the hopelessness of his situation. He was on the brink of losing his sanity, a castaway not just in body, but also in spirit. The turning point came with a stark realization: hope was not enough. If he was going to survive, he needed to take control of his fate. He had to stop waiting for rescue and start living. This shift in mindset propelled him into action. He moved inland, away from the noisy and intimidating sea lions on the coast. He discovered a lush valley with a freshwater spring, which offered a more secure and pleasant environment. He decided to build a home, or rather, two. Using the hatchet he was given, Selkirk constructed two small huts from the wood of the island's pimento trees. One hut was for cooking and daily living, while the other served as his sleeping quarters. This simple act of building a shelter was a monumental step in reclaiming his humanity and establishing a sense of order in the wilderness. His diet also improved dramatically. The island was teeming with feral goats, descendants of animals left by earlier sailors. At first, his gunpowder supply allowed him to hunt them with his musket. But he knew the powder wouldn't last forever. So, he adapted. Selkirk, who was remarkably swift on his feet, began to chase the goats down. His daily runs through the rugged terrain turned him into an incredibly agile and fit hunter. He became so fast that he could outrun the goats, catching them by hand. This provided him with a steady supply of food and milk. He would cook the goat meat or leave it to cure in the sun, ensuring he always had sustenance. The goat skin also proved invaluable, as his original clothes had long since rotted away. Using a nail he fashioned into a needle, he skillfully stitched the skins into new, durable garments. But survival was not just about physical endurance, it was about mental fortitude. The crushing weight of solitude was his greatest enemy. To combat this, Selkirk devised a routine. He filled his days with purpose, whether it was hunting, foraging, or maintaining his small homestead. He also found solace in his faith. He read his Bible daily, singing psalms to the rhythm of his work. The sound of his own voice, echoing through the empty valley, was a comfort, a reminder that he still existed. It was his way of pushing back against the silence that threatened to consume him. The island was not without its dangers. Besides the psychological strain, Selkirk had to contend with a large population of aggressive rats that would gnaw at his feet and clothes while he slept. In a stroke of genius, he managed to domesticate some of the feral cats he found on the island. He lured them to his huts with goat meat, and soon, a small army of felines stood guard, protecting him from the rat infestation. They became his companions, silent witnesses to his solitary life. One day, he nearly lost his life in a hunting accident. While chasing a goat along a cliff edge, he failed to see the drop-off and plunged down the precipice. He landed on the goat he was chasing, which cushioned his fall but was crushed beneath him. He lay unconscious for what he estimated to be a full day. When he awoke, he was bruised, battered, and unable to move. It took him over a week to crawl back to his hut, his body racked with pain. This near-fatal experience was a grim reminder of how fragile his existence was. Years passed. Selkirk had transformed from a desperate castaway into the undisputed master of his island domain. He was no longer just surviving, he was thriving. He had found a rhythm with the natural world, a sense of peace he had never known in civilized society. Then, one day, the impossible happened. Two ships appeared on the horizon. It was February 2nd, 1709. After 4 years and 4 months of complete isolation, Alexander Selkirk's solitude was about to end. The ships were the Duke and the Duchess, English privateering vessels captained by Woodes Rogers. When the landing party came ashore, they were met with a sight they could scarcely believe. A man, clad in goatskins, with long hair and a wild beard, ran to greet them. He was so unused to speaking that his words were almost incomprehensible, a jumble of sounds and gestures. He was ecstatic to see other humans, leaping and dancing with joy. He invited the sailors to his hut, offering them a feast of cooked goat meat. The crew was astounded by Selkirk's story and his physical condition. Captain Rogers noted in his journal that Selkirk was a man of good sense and strong constitution, whose agility and strength were remarkable. Selkirk's knowledge of the island proved invaluable to the crew, who were suffering from scurvy. He guided them to fresh water and edible plants, nursing many of them back to health. After a brief stay, Selkirk finally left the island, joining Rogers' crew as second mate. He had left civilization as a disgruntled sailor and returned as a legend. He continued his privateering career for a couple more years, amassing a small fortune before finally returning home to Scotland. But the world he had longed for now felt strange and alien. He found it difficult to readjust to society. He was restless, finding the company of others to be noisy and overwhelming. He would often spend hours alone, and it was said he even built a small cave in his father's garden to recapture the peace he had found in solitude. Alexander Selkirk's incredible true story became a sensation in England. It captured the public imagination and directly inspired the writer Daniel Defoe to create his immortal character, Robinson Crusoe. While Defoe's novel added cannibals, a shipwreck, and the famous companion, Friday, the core of the story, the tale of human resilience, ingenuity, and the struggle to survive against all odds, was drawn directly from the life of Alexander Selkirk. A man who was abandoned on a deserted island, and through sheer force of will, turned his prison into a kingdom. If you found this story of survival as fascinating as we did, make sure to subscribe to Facts Repo for more incredible tales from history.